Okay, welcome everyone. This is GSC. We're going to build a chatbot with ChatGPT. Our guest speaker is Cameron. He's super nice, so be respectful, give him your undivided attention, and we're going to get to code something super cool. So, yeah.
Sweet. Thanks, Vincent. Let me switch over here. Okay, I got the mic on. You all can hear me through the speakers? All right, that's for the Zoom call. Great. Welcome. I'm Cameron, and I'm going to lead you in this workshop. We're all going to build a Google chatbot together, powered by ChatGPT, since that's all the rage these days. And thanks, Vincent, for inviting me to give this workshop into the developer club. I'm actually pretty excited about doing this for you all. I really enjoyed making this bot three weeks ago or so, and then had the opportunity to kind of do a workshop. We'll all get to build something together and have some fun. If you haven't already, go to this bit.ly link and do the couple steps in there, getting your OpenAI account set up with free trial credits or billing enabled, and Google Cloud, the same thing. If you're planning on building together, you can just watch and observe, and you'll probably learn a lot too. But if you want to build, go here now. So a little about me. I'm Cameron. I'm the founder of GQueues, which is a task manager for teams on Google Workspace and other people using Google products. So if small businesses or individuals are using Gmail, Drive, Calendar, and they need a way to collaborate on tasks together, they can use the tool I built. It's pretty helpful. I've been building on Google Cloud for 15 years. Before Google Cloud even existed, back in 2008, Google released a product called Google App Engine in beta that summer, and I started building GQueues on it. It's a platform as a service. Then Google graduated that to GA, and then they started building all these other products and services. Now there's hundreds of services on Google Cloud that you can build with. So yeah, it's been fun kind of going along that journey with them. My favorite programming language is Python. I also code a lot in JavaScript and Objective-C and Java. So those are kind of the four that I use regularly. And then when I'm not staring at a computer screen, I like to get out on the trails here in Colorado. That's why I moved here, for the mountains and the sun. Here's just a quick glimpse of GQueues. This is what I've been building for the last over a decade. To give you a sense of the Google integrations we've built. So this is just standard lists over here, and you have tasks. And if you put a date on the task, then it shows up in Google Calendar, and it has two-way syncing. So if you move the task around in Calendar, then it'll update the date back here in GQueues. You can attach files from Google Drive, assign tasks to your Google contacts. You can even create tasks out of emails. So it has all these integrations, and that's I'm deep in on the Google ecosystem. I've had fun building all of these with their product APIs, and then also building the whole product itself on Google Cloud. So if you're interested in it, I'll have a special offer at the end where you all can try it out for free. It'll kind of take you through the end of the school year. So that was a little about me. I want to just get a sense of who all you are here. So quick raise of hands. Who here has used ChatGPT in the browser? Okay, everyone, almost everyone. Maybe you're just not raising your hand. Who here has used the ChatGPT API in your code, developing with it? A little bit. Okay, you tried it out though. Sweet. All right, hopefully we'll have some success tonight. Who here has built anything on Google Cloud? Any kind of project? Are you familiar with Vincent? Okay. And has anyone used the Google Chat API before? All right, so we're going to learn a lot tonight. It'll be great. How many of you have experience programming in Python? Okay, almost all of you. Terrific. So it's going to be collaborative tonight, and if you get stuck, then ask for help from your neighbor, or if you've got things down and you figured it out, then offer help to your neighbor. We'll go through lots, but it should be fun. So why are we here? Mostly to have fun, because I had fun making this bot, and hopefully you will too. We'll probably learn some stuff about the Google Chat API and the ChatGPT API along the way. So there's that. I want to hide this. There we go. All right, first we'll just go quickly over the architecture of a chatbot. Are you all familiar with Google Chat? You use it? Do you all use Gmail and can chat with each other that way, or at least know what it is? Okay. So you can make bots for Google Chat, and it's pretty simple architecture. The user sends a message to Google Chat. There's an app service that will send that message to the particular bot, and it's just an HTTP request. It's just a post message to any kind of web server, and then it expects a response back. So that's it, in simple. It's a round trip. Then, of course, you can your bot can use external services to help service the request and pull in data and do whatever processing it needs. So the Google Chat API is pretty, it's agnostic as far as what the web server is built on. It doesn't care as long as there's something to take a request and get it back. So we could build bots on AWS or Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure, your own on-premise server. You could do anything. Tonight, we're going to use Google Cloud. And then external, within Google Cloud, we have a couple options. So they have App Engine, which is their platform as a service. And that's what GQueues is built on. It's great for like building full-scale web apps. There's Google Cloud Functions, which is a serverless service. And it's really where you just focus on the code. You don't have to worry about spinning up servers and doing all the infrastructure and that. It's really great for microservices or any kind of event-based architecture. And then there would be Compute Engine, which are just virtual machines. You have full control over what the image of the machine looks like and configuring it, and you have to be responsible for all the load balancing in that. So we're going to go with Cloud Functions because it's perfect for this use case. It's an event-based architecture. We get an event and we send the response back. For external services, you can use anything that has an API and then pull in data and process as you need. So there's the OpenAI API, Spotify, WeatherStack. You could use whatever you think of. There's, everything has an API these days. We're going to use OpenAI. So this is the architecture that we're building tonight. The message gets sent to Cloud Functions. We're going to talk to OpenAI, get a response back, and send it back to the user. And then we'll actually also use a few other Google products. So Cloud Logging, just so that we can see what's going on. We'll use Cloud Datastore so that we can give our bots memory.
In progress.
Sorry about that. It like paused and restarted.
Oh, we're still good?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there we go. So we'll use Cloud Datastore to give our bot memory so it can know the past conversations that have gone on. And then we'll use Google Cloud Tasks to do some background processing. On the OpenAI side, we'll use the Chat API, and we'll use the Image API. So I split the workshop up into 9 modules tonight, and the first one is really just kind of doing a lot of configuring. We'll get the chatbot set up and working, and then the next ones will be adding more code and giving more functionality to our bot as we go. So they'll build on top of each other. Let's see. Oh, first I'll give like a quick overview of what's happening in the module. Then we'll look at the docs and we'll do like the code and put all that in. Then it actually takes a couple minutes for a Google Cloud Function to deploy. So we'll hit deploy and then we'll go back and like actually talk about what the code is doing and review that there. And then once it's deployed, then we can test out, make sure everything in that module worked, and then we'll be ready for the next one. So if you're planning on building with us and coding along, go here now, and then scroll all the way to the bottom and click on Workshop Overview, and then we'll click on Module 1, Build a Basic Bot. So here's the workshop. Scroll to the bottom, go to Workshop Overview. So I wrote out, there's all the docs here. If you didn't show up tonight or you're like sleepy and you don't remember any of this, you could go back. Everything's here that you need to actually go through and build this yourself. It's all documented. Or if you like get stuck tonight or you get lost or whatever, you can always come back and refer here to all of this. So we'll start with module 1. All right, I've got a slide. What are we going to do? All right, build a basic chatbot. This is just to get the system up and configured and running for us. We'll have the user send the message. It's just going to go to our cloud function, and then it's just going to repeat back what the person said. So if we get there, then we found success with our bot. It'll just say, you said whatever. All right. So the first step, we're going to need to open up Google Cloud Console. And if everything I'm saying doesn't make sense, then feel free to interrupt me and just ask a question, because if everyone's lost and we're not doing anything, then there's no point. So go ahead and jump in if you're really getting stuck. So the first thing is we need to create a new cloud project in our Google Cloud Console. So I'm going to copy this link and we'll open it up here. This is just their new console. It should be blank. They gave us a default project. We're going to create a new project here, and the project name is going to be ChatGPT bot. So we'll put it in here. As we're naming things tonight, you could make up your own stuff, but in order for all the code to work in the workshop, it's important that you name things the same that we have here. Otherwise, other parts won't work. So just a little warning there. Notice. So ChatGPT bot. We'll click create. While it's creating, all right, the next step will be to set up our cloud function. All right, so our project's created. I'm going to select the project. It's selected now. We're going to go to Cloud Functions. So I'll copy this link. We'll do a new tab for this. And we need to create our function. So I'm going to click here. It needs to enable a few APIs to work, so we'll go ahead and click enable. Everyone good so far? Say again? Where do we open the project? After you create it. If you're back here, you could just say select project, or if you go up here to the menu, then you just choose your project. Got it? Great. Okay. For initialization? Oh, it doesn't matter. Is there just the default one that was there? Yeah, none of that matters. Mine, I think it went to my domain. Hopefully you're all signed in with your @colorado.edu accounts. You do need a Google Workspace account. Regular Gmail accounts don't work for bots. So make sure you're signed in as that. And then is the organization like Colorado or something like that? Okay, great. All right, so back to our cloud function. It's created our function. Now we need to configure it. So we need to give it a name. And if we go back to the docs here, we'll scroll down. We're going to call it ChatGPT bot with a dash. It's ChatGPT bot. And the region we'll leave as US Central. The trigger type is going to be HTTP. This is just sending a regular request to our cloud function. And we're going to allow unauthenticated invocations. We'll take care of verifying the request ourselves. Click require HTTPS, and then click save. And then at the bottom, click next. Okay, and so now we get to choose our runtime. We're going to code tonight in Python because it's my favorite. So choose Python 3.11. And then for the entry point, this is when our cloud function is triggered, then it's going to call the code in our entry point function. So it gives us hello world is pretty basic. Let's check our docs here. We're going to call ours handle chat, handle_chat. And then we need to update our code. So it gives us some like starter code here, which we're going to get rid of. So you can go ahead and delete all of that. And then we'll go back to the docs here. And I'm just going to copy all of this code with the nice handy button on the right, and we're going to paste it in. And we'll go over that in a sec when it's deploying. But so just make sure you got your code in there. And then the other thing we need to do is we need to update our requirements file. So I'm going to copy these 2 lines, and we're going to switch back here and click on requirements, and we'll paste those 2 in. So this is these are dependencies. So whenever we need to use a library of code, we need to pull in these libraries, and we have to tell the Cloud Function to package these up when it's making the Docker image. So we'll be adding to this as the night goes on. These are just the basic, the 2 first libraries that we need. So we've got those in there, and all right, that's the first step. So go ahead and click deploy, and it's going to start that process. And then while it's doing that, we have a little bit of other work that we can do. So the next thing is we need to activate the Google Chat API. This is where we're going to configure our bot. So I'm going to copy this link, and we'll open this in a new tab. And the first thing is to enable the Chat API. And then once it's enabled, then we need to configure it to look like this. So we're going to call our app ChatGPT bot, and let's go ahead and do this. So you click on the configuration tab, and down here you call it ChatGPT bot. Then it needs a little avatar. We've got a sample one here that you can just copy in. It's a little robot. And then the description is just a bot powered by ChatGPT. All right. So then the next section, interactive features, we want to have those enabled. We're going to allow our bot to receive one-on-one messages between the user and the bot. We're going to allow the bot to join spaces where there's many people talking. And then for connection settings, so this is where we connect the bot to our Cloud Function. So it's going to take an app URL, and then we need to get the trigger URL for a Cloud Function. It's still deploying, but if you click over back to your Cloud Function, click on trigger. So if you go to this URL, this is what activates our Cloud Function. So we want to copy this URL, and then we're going to put it here. So then when someone sends a message to our bot, it's going to send it to this URL. Make sense? Okay, so there's that section. Slash commands we're going to ignore for now. We'll deal with those later in the night. Link previews we don't have to worry about. Visibility. So right now this bot is just going to be for us for testing. So you need to put in your email address here. This is your whatever you're logged into Google Cloud with, your name at colorado.edu. Put that in, and that will make the bot available for you to test. If you make an awesome bot and then you want to share it with the world, then you could go through and publish it to the Google Workspace Marketplace. They have an approval process, but then it will be public and other people can install your bot. So right now we're just testing, and then the last thing here, we're going to click log errors to logging. So this will output everything to Google Cloud Logging so we can keep track of what's going on and figure out any bugs if we encounter them. So then click save. And now our bot is configured. We all good? I think that's the last step. And now we're ready to test. So we'll go over here, our Cloud Function. This little green check mark means that it's been deployed. And so that means we should be ready to test. So open up Gmail with your Colorado at colorado.edu account. Click on chat. We're going to do a new chat. And then if you search, just start typing chat, then the bot that you just set up should appear, and you can click on it. Oh, we didn't talk about the code. Let's talk about the code. All right, real quick. Where's the interesting stuff? All right, in main here, we have this handle chat function. Oh, we'll start at the very top. So we're importing these libraries into the file so that we can use these this code here. So we've got logging. The functions framework, that's just that's what Cloud Functions needs to run. And then we just set up our logging client so we can log messages to Google Cloud logging. All right, and so then handle chat is our trigger function. So that's the entry point. That's what's going to get called when the bot sends a message here. And all we're doing is it sends a JSON request, and we're just going to log it out, and then we're going to check the type. I think I have a slide on this. This is when a bot is added to a space, either a one-on-one message, direct message, or to a full space. This is the JSON that gets sent to our Cloud Function. And there's a couple things that we're interested in: the type of the message, and then we care about this display name. So back in the code. So if the event type is added to space, then we're going to do some things. If it's added to a room, then we're going to say, thanks for adding me to this room. If it's added to a direct message or one-on-one conversation, then we're going to say, hi, username, which we pulled out of the message. I'm here to help whenever you need it. Other event types can be removed from space and we'll do nothing. Or it could just be a general message. They type something and send it to us. So I've got a slide here. This is what a message will look like coming in from our bot to our Cloud Function. There's a lot of info here in the JSON. Again, it's type message, and then this is the most important thing that we care about is this argument text. This is the actual thing that the user typed. They're sending it, so we're going to get that out and do something with it. So in the code, if an event type is message, then we say process message event, and we just have a really simple function down here that says get the user text, this argument text, and then return. It says you said whatever. So then now if we go to our bot, I added the bot, or I started a conversation. It says, hi Cameron, I'm here to help whenever you need it. So that part worked, the added to space. Did everyone get that? Sweet. All right, and then you can type something. Is this working? And then it should reply and say, good. Sweet. So we've got a basic bot working. I'm just going to check our time. All right, 1 down, 8 to go. If testing the bot, great. All right, so the next step, we need to actually connect this to the ChatGPT API and make it much smarter than just repeating back what we said. So click on Module 2 here at the bottom, and we'll start this cool process. Let's see, I've got a slide here, do the overview. So this is the part we're building. User's message comes in to our Cloud Function. We're just going to send it over to OpenAI, process it, send back the response to the user, and there we go. Fairly basic. So we need to edit our function, and we can do that by, if you go back to your tab, the Cloud Function, it's been deployed. So we'll be doing this a lot. You just click this edit button up here, and there's a two-step process for editing. It always allows us to edit the configuration. We don't need to do that. We already set things up correctly. So you're just going to click next, and then we'll get to the code part. And so this is where we can edit our code. And the first thing we need to do is open our requirements file and add the OpenAI library. So they have a Python library. So I'm just going to copy this line right here, and we're going to go back. We're going to click on requirements and add that line. So now we can use the OpenAI code in our own code. And then this next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new file called GPT-util. And these are going to be some helper functions for where we interact with OpenAI. GPT_util. It's important to get these names right. So back here in our function, we can click this plus button and call it GPT_util.py, and then click plus. Their editor is a little funky. It like kind of clears things out. So I just click around to make sure my other code's still there. Click on the new file. Okay, it's empty. And then now we need to copy in this code. So I'm just going to copy all of this, and we'll paste it in. And again, we'll talk about this while it's deploying. So right now we're just making sure that we get everything in the right spot. All right, so we got a new file called GPT-util, and then we need to update main to actually use it. So the first thing we need to do is we need to import some of these libraries. So we're going to import OpenAI, this new file GPT-util that we created, and then we also need to set our API key from OpenAI so that it knows who to charge for these calls. Yeah, so I'm going to copy these 3 lines. We're going to go back over here, click on main, and then at the top right here after logging, we'll paste these in so that we can use them in our code. All right, so now we need to get our API key. So here's a link. Oh, that's an image. Here's the link to, this should open up your OpenAI account where you do like normal ChatGPT stuff, and then the API keys. You can create a new API key, which I encourage you to do. It may already have a default one there. So we're going to create a new key. You can name it whatever. How about like ChatGPT bot? And then it gives us a key that we can use to connect to the API for our account. You will never see this again, so copy it, and then maybe you want to save it on a clipboard or something, because if you lose it, then it won't work, or it's gone, then you have to like delete it and create a new key. So I've copied this, and then we're going to go back into our code. So Cloud Functions right up here where it says to do my API key. We'll delete all of this here, and we're going to put in our API key. So there it is. Everyone good so far? Okay. And now we need to update this process message event so it does something a little bit smarter than just repeat back what the user said. We're going to delete what we had before, and so I'll just copy all of this right here, and we'll scroll down to process message event. Just going to delete all of it, and then we'll paste in this new version. Remember in Python that code blocks are all indicated by indentations, so you want to make sure that's an easy way that you can end up with a bug here, is if, especially copying and pasting in. So make sure that things are indented correctly. So this is at the far left because it's its own function right here. So process message event, there it is, and that's the last step, so we're ready to deploy. All right, so while it's deploying, let's talk through the code real quick. What's interesting here. So we made this file called GPT-util, just to keep things organized. It's kind of a separate file, and it's got one function that says get GPT response, and it takes in some messages. And actually I have a link here to the ChatGPT API docs, so we could take a look at it if you wanted. This is their documentation on how to do a request. We'll actually look through our code because it's maybe a little easier to see here. So all we're doing is, here's the OpenAI chat API. We're going to say create this completion here. We have to specify the model. So we're using GPT 3.5 Turbo. This is the last one that came out right before GPT-4. Maybe not everyone has access to GPT-4. 3.5 is cheaper and faster, so that's what we're going to use today. There's an attribute called temperature, and this determines how creative the bot is going to be. So it can be a value between 0 and 2. The higher the number, then kind of like the more crazy, random, creative responses it'll give you, the lower number. So I'm using 1.1. I guess you could adjust it to whatever you want. And then the last thing it takes in is a list of messages. So it can take in, there's a couple different message types. One is like some guidance for the bot itself, for the assistant, the ChatGPT assistant. So we can tell it you're a cheerful assistant or you're something else, and all the conversations then it will kind of interact in that mode. And then we'll put in our new message, and then you can also, so it has context, you can give it a history of messages, so it knows what you've said before, and that's how it will keep track of things and answer appropriately. So we're sending in the list of messages, and then we're getting the first response out here from the JSON it sends back, and we're sending that in the response. And then, so what are we doing in main? Well, we already set our API key. And then this process message event, that's the new part here. So we're taking the message that we have, we get the text out and the user's name, we can log it out. Here, this is where we set the API key. So on the library, we're saying, okay, this is our API key that we're going to use for all of the calls that we're going to make. We start with an empty list of messages. And then here, this is what I was talking about. We're going to give a guidance to the assistant to say, oh, what should you be? How should you act? So here we're saying you're a helpful assistant who has a cheerful attitude. And we're putting that as the first, we're appending that to our message list. That's the first message there. And then the second thing, we're going to append another message that says this is just a user's message, and we're putting in whatever the person typed. And then down here in the code, we're saying, all right, use this we got our utility, GetGPT response. We're going to pass in the list of messages. It's going to process those. If there's any errors, then we're just going to send those errors back to the user so they can see it. If everything works, then we're just going to create this JSON that says the text is the GPT response. We'll log it out just so we know what's going on, and then we'll return it. So it's a lot there, but now we should go over, and we've got the green check mark. So our function has been deployed, and if we go back over here and we say something like, I don't know, write 3 recipe titles, hopefully it will give us something. Oh my goodness, it works. Terrific. So we're connected now. We have our bot, and it's taking whatever we say and sending it over to ChatGPT, giving us something back. Is it working for people? Sweet. Oh, you're doing great. Okay. So here's an example, troubleshooting. If it didn't work, you might get something that says like ChatGPT bot not responding. That means there's something going wrong. Maybe a bug in your code, maybe ChatGPT service is not working, it's down. It could be a number of things. So if it is in your code, we want to find it, and that's why we have cloud logging. So here's a link. You can open up the cloud logs, pull this into a new tab, and then we can see what actually went on in our cloud function. So if you scroll to the bottom here, this was it deploying it. But so it received this event data. So this is that JSON that I showed you a picture of in the slides. So this is all coming from the bot. And then here we logged out the user text, write 3 recipe titles. And then here's the response from ChatGPT, the creamy garlic, and the function took 3.5 seconds to run. So if you see something red in there, then that means that's where your error is, and then you can look at the log message, see what's going on. In this instance, boy, can you even see all this? Some of that's kind of small. Okay, it says GPT util is not defined because in this instance it wasn't imported at the top of the file. So if you have errors, you look in the logs, you can track those down, fix them, redeploy your cloud function, and then that should get things working. Okay, so now our bot can process something using ChatGPT, but our cloud function URL is like widely available to anyone, and so it could process random requests from anyone. So that means we can't really trust the incoming data to it because we don't know that it actually came from a bot. So this is more kind of like security protection side. Module 3, we're going to verify the message is coming from a bot first before we do any processing. We're all good? Okay, click Module 3, and then let's see, I've got a slide here. All right, so this is what we're doing in this module. The user's message comes in. Now, first, before we do any processing, we're going to verify the request. If it's valid, then we'll send it to OpenAI. If not, then we'll just reject it. Okay. Module 3. So the first thing we need to do is add a dependency. So we're going to copy this line for OAuth 2 clients, and we'll go back to our cloud function, which is here. It was deployed, so we need to click Edit again, and we're going to skip the configuration. So we'll go Next. Now we're back in our code. Click on Requirements, and we'll add this line here for OAuth 2 client so that we can use that. Now we're going to create a file called auth-util, which will just take care of all this verification stuff. So we'll go back here, create a new file. It's auth_util.py. Click the check mark, click around to make sure everything looks good. All right, there's our empty file. And then we're just going to copy in all of this code and paste it in here. Now we need to update, there's a to-do in here. This audience, this is using it to validate everything. Audience is making sure that it's targeted to our project. So we need to update this with our project number. And if we go to our cloud dashboard, here's a link. So we can open this up. And there's a few things here. Project name, that's what we gave it. Then it comes up with the project number. So this is what we need to copy. And then there's also an ID, which we'll use later. Okay, so copy the project number. We'll go back to our function. And for audience, we're going to delete this and put in our project number. And then, all right, now we need to update main to actually call this verification method that we created. So we need to import this new method that we created at the top, this line here. So we're going to go back here to main, at the top, throw in this line, is request valid. And then the first part of handle chat, before we do anything, this is where we'll say, is the request valid? It's handed the request. If not, then we'll return unauthorized and not do any processing. So the first part here, right below the comments, paste that in. Make sure the indentation is correct. It all looks good. And that's it. So now we can click deploy. All right, let's look at the code. Are people still following along? Are we good? Yeah? All right, it's working for some? Okay, great. So what is this doing here? This auth-util is request valid. This actually, it's mostly based on the documentation from Google Chat, which tells us how we need to verify that a message has come from them. You can read that if you want to see what they have there. So is request valid? Basically, it's there's an authorization bearer token that's in the headers of every request that comes in. So we're getting that token out. That's what it's doing here, splitting it. And then we're going to verify it, the token, based on the audience, our project ID number. It uses a public certificate. And then down here, it checks to make sure that it's actually from the chat system, which is chat@systemgservice account. So if it passes all that stuff, then our function will return true. The request is valid. If it doesn't, any of that fails, then we'll say no and don't process. I think that's about it. Yeah, and then in main, all we're doing is actually calling that function. So we'll see if, okay, this one I talked too fast, and it's still deploying. So what we can do actually is we'll click on our trigger URL here, and we'll just open this in a new tab. And we'll see here, because our new code hasn't deployed, it's actually trying to process this request to our cloud function, and it's expecting JSON, so it's like unsupported media type, but it is trying to run here. And what we're hoping is after this is deployed that it'll say unauthorized, because this request is not coming from a chatbot. Okay, so we have a check mark here. The code is deployed. I'm going to refresh this. And nothing yet. Sometimes when it's deployed, it still kind of takes a while for the new code to run. So we'll give it a second here. Or maybe it's cached. There we go. All right, it refreshed. So it says unauthorized request, which is what we had in our code. So it's blocking what it needs to block. Now let's make sure that it's actually still allowing our chats to come in from the bot. So we'll go back to our bot here, and I'm going to say, let's do a nice little follow-up message. Write a summary of number 2. Hopefully we get something back. Okay, terrific. So we got a response from ChatGPT. that means that part is working. It's going through and verifying the request, allowing it to get processed. Now, if we look at this response, it's kind of weird and unexpected. Like, that's not what it's supposed to say, right? That's not what we're used to. Well, remember that right now, our bot is not remembering any previous messages and is not sending those on to ChatGPT. So it's only processing our latest message, which says write a summary of number 2. It has no idea what number 2 is. So the next module, that's what we're going to do, is we're going to add the data store and give our bot some memory so we can pass on the whole context of the conversation to ChatGPT and it can create something sensical. So that is the next step. It's all working. This is great. Module 4. All right, so we're going to add a data store, and I've got a slide about this. This is what we're doing. The user's message comes in, we'll verify the request. Then we're going to go to the database, we'll set up a data store here, and we'll get any previous messages that happened with this bot. And we'll pull those out, and we'll send the whole thing along with the new message over to OpenAI. And then when we get the response back, we'll save all of that to the data store, and then we'll also send the new response to the chatbot. Make sense? Okay, so let's get to it. So the first thing we need to do is create a data store. So I'm going to copy this link and go over here and create the data store. We have to choose a mode. We're using data store mode. And then for the location, we're going to choose North America 5. And we'll say create database. And let's see. All right, our database is ready, and it should redirect here. All right, we've got an empty database. Terrific. All right, the next thing is these steps will start to look familiar. We need to pull in the library, the dependency. So there's this Google Cloud NDB library. That's how we're going to connect to the database. We need to add that to our requirements. So we're going to go back to our cloud function. We're going to click Edit. Skip the configuration. We're going to go to Requirements, and we'll add in this library. Then next, we need to create a definition of the model. So this is an object-oriented database. It's not SQL. So we have these entities that live in the database. We have to define them. So we're going to create a models.py file, and then we'll just copy in this definition. So back here, new file, models.py, it's plural, and just click around, and then we'll paste in definition. And now we're going to create a new file called Datastore util. These will just be a couple of helper functions that interact with the database. So again, I'll copy this over here, new file, Datastore util.py. Here's our new function. Paste it in. We'll talk about the code in a second. And then we need to update main to actually use this. So the first part, we need to do some imports. We'll import our new Datastore util at the top. And got that there. And then we need to make a new version of process message event to make it even smarter. So you can just copy all this. We'll delete the existing one. Make sure our indentation is correct. This is at the very far left. Here's our new version. And where are we at? We're ready to deploy. Okay. While it's deploying, we'll talk about the code. What's interesting here. So in our models, so we're creating a thread entity, and it's got a, it's going to take in a list of messages, and it'll just store it as JSON, and it's got a timestamp here. And then we have a helper method that says just get messages, so we can get the messages out of the entity. Then in our Datastore util, the two helper functions are store messages. It's going to take in a thread ID and a list of messages, and it's just going to save this to the Datastore. What's interesting here is using get or insert for our thread ID. So this will ensure that there's only one entity per user bot combination. So we're kind of making up our own thread ID. You'll see it here in main, where we're taking like the ID of the user and the ID of the space and concatenating them together. That's our thread ID. There'll be one, so there's only like one history of messages per combo there. And then this other function is get thread, so we can get the object out of the data store. And then in main, so what are we doing here? Some of this looks familiar. Getting the message, the user's name. Here we're getting the user ID. I think I have a slide on this. Yeah, so this is the JSON that comes in. Here's the user's name, and we're just getting like the number part. That's the ID. Here's the space name. We're just getting this part here, the second part, which is the ID. We're putting those two together into something we're calling thread ID. So that's what happens right here. If it's a direct message, thread ID are these user ID and space name together. We'll log that out just so we can keep track of it. This is all familiar. Here's our message list. This is the new part. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the data store for a thread with our thread ID. If we get an object out of the data store, then we're going to get those messages. That's the previous messages that we had, the previous conversation. If there is nothing in the data store, that means we're starting a new conversation. So that's where we're going to kind of do the normal thing. We'll set the normal role for the assistant, your helpful assistant here. And then regardless, we have existing messages or we're just starting a new one, then we're going to add the new message onto the list. So that's here, append message. We'll send it off to ChatGPT. And then if we do have this thread ID, if it's a one-on-one conversation, we're going to add the new message from the assistant and store that to the database. So we'll store the whole list, so we can just keep adding to the list of messages that's stored in the database, and we'll send back the new response. All right, so it's deployed now. Let's test our bot, see if it works. I'm going to give it something new, like write 3 headlines about football. Okay, great. So we got something back. And now here's the real test is, let's say, write a paragraph about number 3. Hopefully it knows now what we're talking about, this record-breaking attendance at a local football derby. All right, the recent local football derby broke records for attendance. So now our bot is smart. We've spent the first 45 minutes, and now we have something that's as smart as the normal ChatGPT that you're all used to using. But we've done it ourselves in a little bot, and we're using the AI, the API to do it. So we've made a little bit of progress. Is anyone else? Is it working for anyone? Is anyone still with it? Okay, great. Yeah.
So I think my chat response is working, but it's not getting posted to my Google chat. It's like I'm getting a response back, but it's not showing up in the actual Google chat.
You're seeing it in the logs though?
Yeah.
And it's not showing in the actual chat.
If I'm reading it correctly.
Was it ever? Were you ever getting responses?
Yes.
And there's no errors in the log?
I'm getting info logs and debug logs.
There's no red ones that say errors? You could, have you tried redeploying? Give that a shot and maybe that will get it back connected. Okay, so all right, so we've tested our bot. It has a memory now. Let's check the database just to see did anything happen there. Click back over here. I'm just going to reload this, and we should see. All right, yeah, we've got an entity here in the database. If we click on it, You can see the key name is this thread ID that we made up. It's like the user's ID and then dash and the space name here. And then there's the message history. It actually stores JSON objects as bytes, so that's why this kind of looks weird, but when it gets it out of the database, it'll put it back into a JSON object, and then there's our timestamp. So it's only just interacting with us, so there's only one entry here in the database. All right, so now we have parity with normal ChatGPT experience, and we need to make our bot even better, and so we're going to add some slash commands to give our bot personality and to do special things for us. So this is module 5. Click here, and let's see, I've got a slide about this. Module 5. So what are we going to do? Slash commands, you can do like type slash at the beginning of your bot, and then like the command name, and then your normal text, and it tells the bot to do something special. They call them slash commands. So the user's message is going to come in. We're going to verify the request. Then we're going to pre-process that based on the command. So whatever command is given us, then we're going to do something special with our bot, and then we'll do all the normal things that we do, getting the previous messages, send them to ChatGPT, and bring them all back. Okay. So first step. We need to add these to the configuration of our bot. So if we go back to the tab where we have our bot configured, remember we skipped over this at the beginning. There's a section called slash commands. So we're going to add a new slash command. We're actually going to do 3 of them. And here they all are. The first one is going to be new, and that's where we're going to signal a new conversation with ChatGPT. This will be essentially what in the normal browser interface where you click new chat on the left and you get to start a new chat. Well, this is what we're going to tell. Hey, forget all the previous messages, just start a new one. So we're going to type this in. Again, make sure you get all these things accurate. It's going to be // new. The command ID is 1. And the description is a new conversation with ChatGPT. And then we'll click done. And then we're going to make another one. This one's called snark. The bot gives a know-it-all response to any statement. So it's /snark. We're going to add a new command, /snark. Command ID is 2. Gives a know-it-all response to any statement. And we'll click done. Now we're going to do a third one. This one /poet. Answers everything with a poem. And so we will add /poet, command ID 3, answers everything with a poem. And we'll click done. So this is what it should look like when you have all of them in there. New is 1, snark is 2, poet is 3. And then you got to click save. Make sure you click save here at the bottom. This will save our configuration for a bot. Oops. And now we need to actually look for these commands that come through. So actually I got a slide here. This is the JSON that comes in when we have a / command coming in from our bot. There's a couple interesting things here. One, there's this new / command entry here, and it tells us the command ID. So like poet, for instance, is ID 3. The argument text is the normal text that the user wrote. You'll notice up here there is something just called text, and this is the full raw text of what was sent by the bot. And it has the /poet at the beginning. This is why we're not using text, and we're always using argument text, because we don't want the /poet at the beginning. We just want what the user typed. So that's what's interesting there. So we need to update our process message event again, and I've rewritten all of it for you. And what we've done here is split out into another function that calls process chat message, so we can reuse some of that code for each of the commands. So we're going to copy all of this. We're going to go back to our cloud function. We're going to edit it. We're going to skip the configuration. We're going to go into main, scroll down. We're going to delete everything here for process message. It's all gone. Make sure our indentation is correct. We're at the far left. We're going to paste in the new code. And is that the last step? It is. So now we're ready to, I keep going the wrong screen. Now we're ready to deploy. All right, while it's deploying, let's look at some of this code. All right, what's interesting, the new process message event. You'll see here at the top, we're looking for this command ID. So if /command is in the incoming JSON, then we're going to get the command ID out. So 1, 2, or 3. And this all is normal. And now there's this new section of if-else statements. So if the command ID is 1, that's the new one. Then we're going to say the normal guidance, your helpful assistant. And then we're going to call this message or this function process chat message with that guidance. If it's snark, then we have new guidance to tell the bot. You are a snarky know-it-all that replies to any content by telling the actual truth of the matter. You usually start your reply with actually. There's always one person in a group that's like, actually, so that's where our bot's going to be. Or /poet, we're going to give guidance to ChatGPT. We're going to say you're an esteemed poet that replies to any request using a rhyming poem. And then if it's none of these commands, then we're just going to process the chat message as normal. Then let's look at this process chat message. It's taking in the user's text, the thread ID, and then guidance is optional. So sometimes there'll be guidance. So the messages list starts out empty. If guidance was given, oh gosh, I don't have power. Okay. Here we go. If we have guidance, then we're going to set that as the first message. Guidance means we're starting a new conversation. So /poet, we're going to start a new thing as a poet or as a snarky person, whatever. So we're just going to add this to the empty list with the guidance that came in. So snark, poet, or new. If guidance isn't given, then that means we're in an existing conversation. We're just going to get the previous messages from the database. Then regardless of new or existing, we're going to add the new message on there, send to ChatGPT. We'll save the reply from the assistant, and then we'll process. So let's see if it works. Everything is deployed. We'll go back over here. If you type / you should see your new / commands that we configured in there. And let's try out snark. And we'll say dogs are the best pets. And we'll see what it says.
I guess calling it with the added statement all the time, or the statement that was like the actual statement all the time. Is that what I'm doing?
Yeah, so remember, we're giving that guidance as the first message in that list. We always send a message list there. So the guidance will be there at the beginning of the conversation, which we're saving to the database. You're a poet. And then we add on our new message, so the user's message. So we got 2 in the list. It gets a response back, so we add on the assistant's response. We save all of that to the database. The next time we say something again, it's going to pull all 3 of those out, including that initial guidance message that you're a poet. So now the ChatGPT knows I'm an assistant, the user said this thing, I gave a response, now it said this new thing, and I'm still acting as a poet. Does that make sense? Is that answering it?
Yeah, so it's kind of pulling from the history rather than just adding to the assigned statement here.
Right. Yeah, it's just part of the history there. Great question. And so that's why whenever you do a different / command, it gets rid of the whole history and then starts out first with the guidance and then all the other messages. So we said dogs are the best, and it says, I completely agree, dogs are the best. Okay, you know what happened here is I don't think so it takes a while. Sometimes after it deploys, it's not actually using our new code. So this is not snarky at all. And maybe it just needed a little more time. Let's try it again, and we'll see if it gives us a snarky response. So this might have happened for you as well. It's nice when it agrees with you, though. You can have it be very affirmative. Okay, so this is better. Actually, claiming that dogs are the best pets is subjective and depends on a person's taste and lifestyle. Some people might prefer cats or birds or even reptiles as pets. All right, so it's snarky. Let's try something else. Poet. All right, we're going to say explain Einstein's theory of relativity, even misspelled. Okay, terrific. We've got a poem. In the realm of physics, great, Einstein's theory did relate that everything in cosmos is relative that he did propose. All right, so great. We've got a poet. And the new we'll expect to work as normal. So, all right, now our bot is starting to get kind of interesting. We've got some extra commands here. You're probably already thinking of other things that maybe you want your bot to do, other commands you can create. What about images? Yeah, Vince.
Could you do like /poet/snark? Will it only do like one?
Great question. So the bot system itself is only set up to have one / command at a time when we configured it. So you could make a new command that's just called snarky poet, and then you could set that up and have it so then it's just like actually, and then writes a poem or whatever. This is where you're going to start getting all kinds of ideas of what you want it to do, and this is where you'll make your bot your own and really cool, and you can show it off to everyone. So the next thing we're going to do is why don't we have our bot create some images for us, and we're going to use the Dolly API. Yeah.
I tried to blame these functions active the last component.
Okay, so that means there's some kind of error in the code. Might be like an import was missing, or have you checked the logs yet?
Yeah.
And nothing is there? So I would recommend checking whatever you did in the last step for this module. It could be usually if a deployment fails, there's like some invalid code in there. So maybe it's some code block is not indented correctly, or you're missing an import function. Another thing to do if you can't figure it out now, there's in the docs over here at the top. There is all the code. That's available just as if you click on Cloud Function, here is all the code up to this point. So through point, module 5, you can see here's all the code. So you could double check. Thanks. You could just copy and paste in all of this to make sure that it's the right stuff in there. So I'm going to go back here. We're on to module 6. 8 o'clock. All right, we're doing okay. We're going to add an image. So click on module 6, or we're going to add image support. I've got a slide. What we're going to do, we're going to add another command / image, and then we're going to do something special. So we'll get the message, we'll verify it. In the commands, if it's /image, we're going to kind of take a diversion here, and we're going to go over here and say handle the image command. And then just return it to the user. If it's anything else, a normal command, then we'll just follow the regular processing flow. So that's what we're doing here. And let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is add our new / command. So it's going to be /image, command ID 4, generate an image with Dolly. So we'll go over here to our chat app configuration. We're going to add a new / command, /image. Or it could be snarky poet if you want to do that later. Command ID is 4, and we're going to say generate an image with Dolly. We've got that there. Click done. Make sure you click save. And the next step, we need to update our GPT util. So right now it's only just handling chat messages, and we need to add this new function to deal with images. So I'm going to copy all of this. And we need to go back to our Cloud Function and edit it. Skip the configuration. Get back to our code. Click on GPT util. Go to the bottom. Make sure the indentation's all the way to the left. Paste in our function. Create image with prompt. And we'll talk about that at the end, what the code's doing. All right, now we need to update main. There's a couple built-in libraries that we need to use, random and string. So we're going to add these to the top of main. Go back over to main. Paste those in. And then we need to update process message event. We're not just going to clear it all out. We're just going to modify it here. So we need to add this new else if statement for our image command to say handle the image command. So we're going to put these 3 lines of code, we're going to put right beneath poet. So if we go back to main, scroll down, there's poet. We're going to add a new line. Delete to make sure the indentation's correct so it all lines up. There's poet, there's new image, /image. And now, so it's calling this new function called image command, handle image command, so we need to add that too. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing, and we're going to paste it way at the bottom. Make sure the indentation's on the left. There's our new image command. And are we done? We're done. So deploy the changes. And while it's deploying, let's talk about the code. So I have a link here to the Images API from OpenAI. So here's their docs. It's pretty simple. We're going to send in the user prompt for the image. It takes parameter n. This is the number of images to generate. So you can have it do up to 10 images based on a single prompt. We're going to get the size and then the response format. It'll either give you a URL back or a base64 JSON object. And then the user here is optional. We don't need to worry about that. So if you look in our code, we're calling the image API. We're passing on the prompt. We're just going to get one image back, and the size is 1024 by 1024. Then we'll get the URL from the response, and we'll return that from our function. So how do we use this? Down here, we're checking for the image command. We're going to say handle image command. And in the image command, we're taking in the prompt. We're going to send that to our new function called create image with prompt. That's going out to OpenAI to DALL-E to get it. And then we're going to do something fun here. We're doing we'll just do a normal chat GPT API call. We're going to say we're going to make a witty title for the image. So the following prompt is given to DALL-E to create an image. Please come up with a witty title for the image. It should be no longer than 8 words. So we're just going to send that to ChatGPT, get the response. And then this part is new. So far we've only been giving text responses back from our bot. And now we're going to they have a way that you can present pretty cards back to the user. So that's what we're going to do here. Cards are defined by long, complicated JSON, and so you put in all the sections and then it sends it back. I have a link here to the cards reference, so you can go and check it out. This is here's an example card. It's got the avatar and some contact info and all this. You can make them very pretty. It's kind of complicated. There's a lot in here, and there's a lot of curly braces to keep track of. So to make things easier, they have a card builder, which is also linked here. And if you click this, then there's kind of a visual drag and drop, and you can make your card and add all the stuff, and then it creates the JSON for you over here, and then you can just copy and paste it. So I've written the JSON for you. Here's our card. It's a fairly simple one. There's just a header, which we're going to put our title in, and then the image, which is based on this URL, and we have some alt text there. So let's go back. Our cloud function has been deployed. Let's try it out. If we type /, we should see our new image command, and we're going to type a prompt. How about a baby goat wearing sunglasses at beach? Let's see if it works. Oh my goodness, we got something back. Kid in play at the bay, so witty. And there's our goat. So now you have a bot where you can have all kinds of fun creating silly images or whatever you need. Maybe useful images that you can put in things. Okay. It worked. Oh, here's the sample one. Yeah, this one turned out pretty good. Chillin' like a wolfy villain. All right, so now our bot is super cool. We've got commands. We know how to make our own custom commands. We can do images. I'm going to talk about Module 7 and 8. We're going to skip them in the interest of time because we got to get to Module 9, which is the coolest thing where it all comes together. But what I will talk about, if you click on Module 7, what we're going to do here, right now it's always using our own API key. So all these calls that are being made are getting charged to our own account because it's hard-coded in there. And if we were ever to put this bot out to other people, we don't, well, I mean, unless we're a business, we probably don't want to pay for all of their API calls. So we need to have a way for them to enter their own OpenAI API key into our bot and have it always used. So when this user is using the bot, it uses their key. When another user is using the bot, it uses their key. So that's what Module 7 is all about. I've got a slide on it. Oh, first of all, all the code is there. You know how to go through these modules, so you can do this back at home on your own. You'll be great. It'll work awesome. So I trust that you'll be able to do it. The overview here on the slides, basically we're going to create a new API key command, /command. They would enter the API key. All it's going to do is store it in the database and then send a reply that it's been stored. Then if they try to do a message, yeah?
I'm guessing Cloud Datastore is encrypted safe because I'm sure businesses and individuals use that for private stuff.
It is. Great question. So,
cool shot, I guess.
Yeah. So right now, remember at the very beginning when we set up our chat app, we said it only accepts HTTPS. We checked that box. So it will be an encrypted connection there. Now, Google Cloud Datastore, all of the data in there is encrypted at rest. So what that means is if someone were actually to get into a Google Cloud data center and get into a server and take stuff, or hack in, whatever, it's all going to be encrypted there. So that is a great question. But you, as the creator of the app, you can see the data store. So we went in and saw there. So there is going to have to be a level of trust that, if you're a business, that you're not using their keys mischievously. So that is a consideration and something you would have to work out when you're if you're publishing this bot, is they're going to enter the key. Or if you're a business, a startup making lots of money, then you just use your own key and then you charge the user to say, all right, you want to use my cool bot? It's $5 a month and I'll take care of all the OpenAI fees for you. Okay, so that would be the other approach. Great question. So yeah, it's stored in here. If they try, so if a person new to the bot tries to use it, then it's going to check the data store. Is there a key, an API key in there? If there is no key, then it's going to send this rejection message. You got to enter your OpenAI API key. And then if it does find it, then it will process the message as normal. And then Module 8 is just making it even fancier. So then when you call the API key command, it's going to show this pretty dialog. And it's going to have an input field where they can paste it in. And there's even a link to go to their OpenAI account and copy the key from there. And it's got this beautiful save button, and it's just going to save it to the data store. And then again, if a person for the first time starts using the bot, it's going to check the data store. There's no key. It's going to have this beautiful card here that says you must configure this bot before you can use it. And the settings button, if they click it, then it will show this dialog here. So that's Module 7 and Module 8. We're skipping it for now. You have all the things you need to do it on your own at home if you so choose. We're going to switch to Module 9 though. So scroll to the bottom, do Module 8, scroll to the bottom, it's awesome. We're going to do Module 9. And all right, we've got 15 minutes. We're going to combine everything we've built so far, and we're going to make a new skill for our bot. It's going to be a choose your own adventure story generator. So I don't know if you ever saw those books as kids where it's choose your own adventure books, and do you go deeper into the forest, go to page 9, or you want to explore the lake, then go to page 6. So we're going to make our bot do this interactive on the fly. We'll create these stories. We'll get to choose what options we want, and it'll be awesome. So the slide overview. What's going to happen here? First of all, so we're going to have a new command, a /command /story, and we'll give the topic of our story. And then we're going to process that command. Now we're going to kind of do a lot here. We're going to make several OpenAI API calls, so it takes a while. And the thing is, the chat service, it has a 30-second timeout. So when a message comes into the bot, it expects a response within 30 seconds. And at first I built it all just kind of working as normal, and sometimes it would get it all done in 30 seconds, and sometimes it wouldn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to send a response back right away saying we're generating this for you. And then in a background task, we're actually going to do the work of talking to OpenAI and getting all the stuff that we need. And then when it's all done, we'll asynchronously post the message back to the user, and we'll have this like pretty card with like the title of the story and an image and all the text. So that's the flow of it. And so what's the interesting part? So that's it. And then we're going to look at this green box right here. What's actually happening for processing the story? It's a lot of code, and we won't go through all the code, but like here's the cool stuff that it's doing with OpenAI. The first thing it's going to do is create a story title. So we've got the topic from the user. It's going to send that over to ChatGPT, and the following text was given as a topic of a story. Please come up with a witty title for the story. It should be no longer than 8 words. Here's the user's text. It'll send back the title to us. Then we're going to create the story content. So the prompt to ChatGPT is write the first section of a story in the style of a choose-your-own-adventure book. Each section should be 3 paragraphs and then offer 3 choices for the reader to continue. The story should be based on the following suggestion. We give the user text, it comes back and gives us the story content, which is a couple paragraphs of text. Now, here's where it gets interesting, is we're going to take that story text and we're going to say, hey, ChatGPT, write us a prompt with a maximum of 30 words to create an illustrated image for the most recent part of the story. So we're telling it, you created this text, now create a prompt for an image based on this text. It's going to give us that back, and then we're going to call DALL-E and say, all right, now actually process this prompt and give us an image. Then we're going to format it all together into this beautiful card over here, which is the first chapter of this story. It's a lot. Hopefully it all works. We'll see how it goes. So the first thing we need to do to support background processing is enable the Cloud Tasks API. So I'm going to copy a link here and open a new tab. And we'll click Enable. Okay. All right, now it's enabled, and we're going to go to the actual cloud tasks. We'll copy this link. All right, and so now we need to create a queue for these background tasks to live. So we're going to put a background task on the queue, and it'll be taken off the queue and actually run in the background. So we're going to create a push queue here, and it's going to be called, what did I say? Story-queue. And the region we're going to choose is US Central 1, and we're going to click Create. All right, so now we have an empty queue that we can use. The next part, this part should look familiar. We need to add the story command. So it's going to be /story, command ID is 6, not 5, but 6, and the description is a choose your own adventure. So we're going to go back here to the configuration of our bot, add /command/story, command ID 6. Description is, what I say, a choose your own adventure based on your topic. Okay, the reason it's not 5, 5 was for the API key. That's the stuff that we skipped. So we're making it 6, and that'll all work with our code. Click Done. Make sure you click Save. And now we need to add a number of libraries to handle all this background processing. So these 4 lines here we need to add to our requirements file. I'm going to copy them. We'll go back to our cloud function, edit. Next, click on our requirements file, add the new lines. There they are. Great. We're going to create a new file called storyutil that's going to take care of all of this amazing story processing that we looked at on the slides. So I'm going to copy all this text. We're going to go over here, story underline util.py. Click on it, paste it all in. Okay, the next thing we need to do, it's a lot of code. We won't go through all of it. You can read it on your own. We're going to create a file called task.util, and this is going to handle all the interactions for placing running tasks in the background, pulling them off and actually running them. So a new file called task.util. We'll copy all of this. A new file, task_util, and click around here, paste it in, and there's a couple to-dos that we need to do at the top. So we need to get these pieces of data from various places. So we need the project ID. So if I copy this link, go to the dashboard, and this time, see, we've used all these at some point. Now we need the project ID. It's this ethereal. So I'm going to copy that, paste that into project ID. We need the service account email for our cloud function. So we'll copy this link, open a new tab, and here is the service account email address. Put this, oops, where are we going? Here we are, service account email. And the last thing we need is the trigger URL. So we'll go back here, we'll click on trigger, we'll copy this, and paste in the trigger URL. All right, so I think we've got task.util working. All right, oh, we're getting to the finish line. We're close. All right, we need to update auth.util. So right now, we always verify the requests are coming from the Google Chat service. So now we have some background requests, so we need to verify those as well. So we're going to update auth.util. We're going to, yeah, you're welcome, thanks. We're going to add these 3 lines to auth.util. Nope. Yes. Okay. Here we are. Top auth.util. We're going to paste these in, and then we have this new function, is background request valid. So we're going to paste that in at the very bottom, make sure it's left aligned all the way. Is background request valid. Now we need to update models. So we need to know if we're in the middle of a story conversation or not. So we're going to have a new attribute called thread type, which will tell us, is this conversation a story or not? So it knows to process it accordingly. So we're going to go over here and add this line to models, the thread type. And then we also need to update Datastore util. So store messages now should take in an optional thread type and then save that. So I'm just going to copy this, and we're just going to replace that entire method, store messages. And there it is. And now we set the thread type on the entity if it's supplied. Okay, last we got to update main. So we're going to use our new store util and the task util. So we got to import those at the top, and we'll add those up here. And then we need to update the first part of handle chat. So it needs to check if it's a background task and then process it. So I'm going to copy everything from here down to event type, and we'll put this in. We'll replace what's there. So handle chat, I'm deleting everything above event type, and I'm going to paste this in, and we got to make sure that the indentation is correct. All right. So we've got that in there. And then we need to add a new else if statement for the story command. So we're going to put this right below the image one. We're going to add these lines for story. Scroll all the way down here. There's the image one. We'll paste this in. Make sure the indentation is correct. All right, command 6 for story. It's going to do this background processing. And let's see, lastly, if we're already in the middle of processing a conversation, we need to check the story type and then do something else, process in the background if the story type is there. So we're going to look for this thread object messages, and we're going to add in this new clause directly under messages. Where are we at? Right here. If thread object messages, then do this stuff. So then we're going to check if it's a story. If so, then we're going to process in the background. Okay, hopefully we got it all copied and pasted in there correctly. We're going to click deploy. It was just like a fun idea. Oh, let's make it do a choose your own adventure story. And then I didn't realize the amount of code that was needed to make it all happen. Especially like 2 days ago when it like kept crapping out because it didn't get done in 30 seconds. So then we had to add all this like background processing. So we're not going to go through all the code, but we know what happens, what's supposed to be happening in here, which we saw on the slides, where it's doing all of this. I mean, I guess we can take a look at just a little bit of it while it's deploying anyway. So what's interesting up here, we'll look at the story util. So like this is all, keep in mind this is running in the background, but it says, all right, this is the handle story command. It's first going to call this other function to create the story title. So if we scroll down here, then we see that prompt, create a witty title based on this prompt. So it gets that, returns it back up here. Then it's going to create the content. So write the first section of a choose your own adventure book. And it actually sends that prompt over to this thing called create story chapter. So this gets used at the beginning of a story, and then also for all the subsequent messages where like you choose to go deeper into the forest, so it creates the next chapter. So if we look at the story code here, it's like getting the content, and then it's saying write an image prompt, and then it's actually calling our create image with prompts to get the image, and then it's sending that all back in this list of widgets. And then what we're going to do is put all of those, we're going to store the new messages in the data store, and then we're going to put it all into a card and send it. This new method called send asynchronous chat message will send it to the user. It's a lot. I'm tired. Let's see if it works. All right, it's deployed. Hopefully it's actually active, and we'll give it a shot. So we can do /story. Let's do something interactive. I need a suggestion of an animal. A pig. Okay, and then what's the suggestion of a location? New Mexico. We'll make this into a prompt eventually. And then maybe a suggestion of an object around your house. Something you might find in your house. A towel. Okay, so we're going to write a story about a pig goes to New Mexico to find the perfect towel. Something unexpected happens along the way. Let's see if this works. Okay, great. So the code deployed, it's actually working. Remember, the first part is it's going to send a response right back saying generating. Now what's happening in the background, this is background task running that says, okay, create a title for this, create the first section of text, now create an image prompt for this, and then create the actual image. So it's doing those 4 calls, and it's going to package it all up, hopefully into a beautiful card with some choose your own adventure options for us. And you can see this is why we need it to run in the background, because it does take it a little bit of a while. Here's a custom story just for you. Oh my goodness. All right, Ham on the Run, a New Mexico adventure. There's this, this is great. We've got a picture of a pig at least. As a pig, you always had a love for great food. One day while eating your usual slop, you stumbled upon a magazine with a story about perfect enchiladas. The photo on the page made your stomach grumble with excitement, and you knew you had to taste them. The only problem, the enchiladas were in New Mexico, a long way from your pig pen. Option 1, you decide to embark on your journey alone, leaving your pig pen behind. Option 2, you decide to ask your barnyard friends for help. You can't make the journey alone, or instead of traveling by land, you decide to fly to New Mexico on a whim. Which one should we do? We're going to fly to New Mexico. So I'm just going to type in option 3. You quickly pack your bags. As you soar through the sky, something unexpected happens. You'll notice, maybe we'll see this in the next one. Every time I've run this, I've done, just testing on regular ChatGPT. Sometimes it'll give like very succinct options. It'll just be like option A, go, and it's just like a few words, and option B. Here it gave us quite a bit more for all of them. I haven't quite figured out the exact prompts to kind of get it to be always standardized in its format. So we'll see what we get. Chapter 2. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. We've got a pig flying, apparently. You and your bird friend fly high above the clouds towards New Mexico. The sun is shining brightly, and you can't help but feel lucky to have such a great friend to help you on your quest. However, as you get closer to your destination, you notice something strange happening. The skies are becoming darker, and the winds are growing stronger. Option 1, you and your feathered friend decide to continue despite the weather. Option 2, worried about the worsening weather conditions, you and your friend decide to land somewhere safe. Option 3, you start feeling scared, and you suggest that the bird fly in the weather could be risky, and you just abandon the whole thing and go home. What option should we do? First one, option 1, we're going to continue on despite the weather. Of course we are. We're adventurous. All right, we're right at time. Do you guys want to see the next 3 chapters and how this thing ends? We're right at time, and I'll still open it up for questions. It'll take 3 more minutes. See what it does, or just go on? See what it does. Okay. Chapter 3. Oh, wow. You and your bird friend decide to continue despite the intense weather, and you determine to find those perfect enchiladas. Nothing can stop you. Didn't we ask for something about towels? Where was the towel stuff? I guess it missed that. Option 1, you and your friend quickly make your way to the local restaurant. Option 2, as you search for the restaurant, you find yourself lost. You choose to ask a group of tourists for advice. Or option 3, the storm caused a power outage, and you... all right, which one should we do? Okay, option 3. Okay, the storm caused the power outage. So you'll notice something here. This is an opportunity for improvement. Like the images, they're not quite all in the same style. I tried to have them be illustrated images based on, I think it says like acrylic painting or something. It kind of takes some leeway there. And then obviously, I don't know, the state of AI needs to improve better. But like there's no consistent pig along the way. It's like a different pig every time. So that's a thing that will need to be solved, I don't know, in the next few months or the next year. Like this is it's a little crazy. But what we have here is like unlimited choose your own adventure stories. You used to have to go buy a book and you'd read it, and there's only it doesn't even know about what option 1 is because we didn't choose it. So maybe it's like a fun little thing for your nieces or nephews or something. We're gonna. It does take a while, so in the interest of time, we're gonna assume that it's gonna finish up after chapter 5, and we tell it in the code. Like, go ahead and wrap up this story, and so then it doesn't give any more options at the end. I do want to switch to, I don't know, I think there's a couple more things to talk about. Oh, we do have a new, okay. What did it say? Okay, there's a beautiful picture. I'm not even going to read it. We're just going to say option 2, and we'll see what happens. And then while it's working on that, okay, it's generating. All right, what to code next? So hopefully during this whole time, you've maybe got some ideas on other things that you want to do, improve to the bot we already have, add some new snarky poet / commands or something else. Maybe it's useful for school or whatnot. It can just make things more efficient if you just pre-populate it with what you want the bot to do, and then you paste in the things. Does anyone have any ideas that have already come to mind that they're thinking about that you want to share?
Email checker.
Email checker? You want to say more?
Oh, like whenever I'm writing emails to like professors or anything, like I know like Grammarly helps, but to make sure like sounds better, sounds more professional, and stuff like that.
Awesome. That'd be perfect because it's living right there in your email. You just copy paste it in, and it gives you some like suggestions on a way to make it better. Something in the back. Use the Discord API. So you're talking Midjourney's image or? Terrific. That's a great idea. So you'd be using another API external service to connect there. Another thing we didn't look at, all throughout here, we've been doing one-on-one chats with the bot. But the code does support it being added to a space, which is a group of people talking. So it can't do the slash commands in spaces. Their platform doesn't support that. But you could have the bot just interacting in the space, and you could get like normal helpful suggestions, like normal ChatGPT. Or maybe you can figure out other ways. Or I love this idea, integrate with Discord. Anything else that someone wants to share? A few ideas that I came up with. Just add more specialized slash commands like the email checker. Maybe summarize could be a nice one where you just paste in a whole bunch of text and it will give you a summary for it. Or maybe you even, this would take a little more coding, but you could give it a URL and it would get all the text from that URL and summarize that for you. Like that could be pretty cool. Translate, I guess ChatGPT does pretty good with translating, so you could just set up like /Spanish and then paste in something and it just gives you Spanish, translation automatically. Maybe you want to, you could just quickly modify the image one. So right now it only gives out one image, so it can go up to 10. So maybe you have 4 image results that come back and you can pick the better pig. Integrate with other APIs, Discord, anything else, Spotify, the weather, anything that you want. Maybe you build a different bot for Google Chat that has nothing to do with ChatGPT. So one of the things you learned tonight, you know now how to create bots. So it doesn't have to necessarily be powered by ChatGPT. There could be other ideas that you're coming up with. Or lastly, create a different product powered by ChatGPT that has nothing to do with Google Chat. So you know how to use the API for OpenAI, and you can use that in your code for something else. Any questions, specific or just general, that you want to ask? We'll do a couple. Yeah.
Could you use the OpenAI? This might be more of like a ChatGPT question, but if you create a bot, you can do like math problems, like Symbolab, and then have it query ChatGPT and have it give you your answer back.
So just giving it math problems? Yeah. You could. I have not tried it myself, but I've heard ChatGPT isn't super great with math.
Yeah,
it's not accurate.
I was just asking if you could just give it specific type of input, and if it would be smart enough to read text, because if you're trying to do an integral, Symbolab can do integrals, but changing that to actual text form, I think is a little hard.
So I would suggest as a first point, just go to ChatGPT in the browser and try to figure out what prompts would work well for doing that. There is something interesting. You can get stuff back in a specific format. So right now we're all just kind of dealing with text, but I have tried this myself where you can say, do all this and give it to me in this format of a JSON object where this is this key and this is this key. And so then it gives you back something that you can actually use in your code instead of just text. So that could be interesting as well. Another question.
Yeah, is there any way to use APIs and without having to data glue out
Yeah, great question. So Google Cloud, I think if you've never used it before and you sign up, they'll give you $300 that you have to use in the first 90 days. Most of their products do have a free tier as well. So Google Cloud Datastore, I think you have to pay for it, but they have a very generous free tier. I think you get up to 1 gigabyte of storage there. Cloud Functions is a free tier, a certain amount of processing or bandwidth per month. So you do have to pay, but they give you something to start with. There might even be something, I don't know, through the developer club, they might have some incentive or something. I could check on that and post back. Also, the costs though are pretty minimal for what we're doing, especially like on the OpenAI side. I don't know if you saw my note in the setup there, but they charge like 0.2 of a cent for I don't know, I forget, but what it translates to is basically a penny for 15 pages of text. So everything we do tonight, you're going to spend less than 10 cents on what we did. I think I've been testing this for the last 3 weeks, doing lots of stuff with my bot, and I think my bill is up to like $5.50 or something. So it is, I don't know. I know, inflation is up there and money is tight, but maybe you can find a product that you can make money on, and then it'll cover those costs. All right. So a couple things. If you have other questions, I'll hang around here for a little bit. You can come up and ask me other questions. You can also email me. There's my work email. If you email me, I will reply. I'll commit to that. I do get a lot of email though, so if you can do me a favor and just put at the top, hey, I attended the ChatGPT workshop, and here's my question, blah, blah, blah. Here's what I want to talk about. I'll make sure to get back to you. If you want to try GQueues for life or for handling your schoolwork or whatever, we have a special offer. We'll give you 3 months free. You just have to go to gqueues.com/cuboulder. You'll get 90 days free. You can try it out. It'll at least get you through the end of the school year. And then lastly, there's a feedback survey. It's only 3 questions. It's linked in the documentation. You can use the QR code here. It would just help me to know how this went for you. And that is the last slide. So thanks everyone for hanging in there. This was a lot of fun.